Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jashodhana Dana Brija Jana Ranjana Jashodhana Dana Brija Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nam Sankirtan ki jai. Before we start reciting the prayer for the day, we'd like to recite invocation prayers and seek the blessings of the Lord, pay obeisances unto Him. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tado Jayamutiraye Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayade Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Sri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Krishna Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai. So I hope all of you have opened up Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 8, Text 44. Sutta Vacha Pritetam Kalapadai Parinata Kilodaya Mandam Jahasa Vaikunto Mohaya Nivamayaya Sutta Vacha Pritaitam Kalapadai Parinata Kilodaya Mandam Jahasa Vaikunto Mohaya Nivamayaya Sutta Vacha Pritetam Kalapadai Parinato Kilodaya Mandam Jahasa Vaikunto Mohaya Nivamayaya.
Sutta Uvacha Pratayetam Kalapadai Parinata Kilodayaha Mandam Jahasa Vaikunto Mohayani Vamayaya. Hare Krishna.
Sutta Uvacha Pathayetam Kalapadai Parinuta Kilodaya Mandam Jahasa Vaikunto Mohayan Vamayaya.
Thank you. All right, can go for the synonyms. Sutta Vacha. Sutta said. Pritaya, by Prita, Kunti. Itam, this. Kala Padai, by chosen words. Parinuta, being worshipped. Akila, universal. Udhaya, glories. Mandam, mildly. Jahasa, smiled. This is going to be the focus of today. Vaikunta, the Lord. Mohayan, captivating. Eva, like. Maya, his mystic powers. Translation. Suta Goswami said, the Lord, thus hearing the prayers of Kunti Devi, composed in choice words for his glorification, mildly smiled. That smile was as enchanting as his mystic power. Purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charnaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anything that is enchanting in the world is said to be a representation of the Lord. The conditioned souls who are engaged in trying to lord it over the material world are also enchanted by his mystic powers, but his devotees are enchanted in a different way by the glories of the Lord and his merciful blessings upon them. His energy is displayed in a different way, as electrical energy works in manifold capacities. Srimati Kunti Devi has prayed to the Lord just to enunciate a fragment of his glories. All his devotees worship him in that way by chosen words. Therefore, the Lord is known as Uttama Sloka. No amount of chosen words is sufficient to enumerate the Lord's glory, and yet he is satisfied by such prayers as the Father is satisfied even by the broken linguistic atoms of the growing child. The word Maya is used both in the sense of delusion and mercy. Herein, the word Maya is used in the sense of the Lord's mercy upon Kunti Devi. That's it. So thus, for all of you, a majority of you have been with us throughout this journey of hearing Maharani Kunti's prayers, right? And then last class, we have concluded very nicely by her glorifying the Lord, glorifying him as the best friend of Arjuna and so forth, right? Glorifying him. So today, now Sutta Goswami is saying that thus she has recited her prayers, and he talks about the Lord's reaction to her prayers and also how important it is to pray and use the right words to glorify the Lord. Here Sutta Goswami says, Prithaya itam kalapade. Prithaya actually means Maharani Kunti. Why? Because Kunti's other name is Pritha. Kalapade actually means of the choicest words. So because Krishna is the supreme and he should be offered prayers with supreme words and feelings, we use the choicest of words. Yad uttama sloka gunanuvarnanam. Krishna is to be worshipped simply by glorifying him with the best of words, uttama sloka. He is famously called as uttama sloka or stuti priya. That's why if you see Srimad Bhagavatam, so what's the main difference between, well, there are several, but in essence of difference between Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. This is how my father used to explain to somebody who doesn't know. Bhagavad Gita is what Krishna spoke, right? Song of God. And Bhagavatam is glories of Krishna spoken by his devotees. That's the main essence or main difference. And who has set examples of prayers? Bhagavatam is full of prayers. Another person who set example of prayers is the first being, none other than Lord Brahma. What does he recite in Brahma Samhita? He says, Chintamani prakarasatma sukalpa vriksha laksha vridishu surabir apipalayantam Lakshmi Sahasra Satasambhrama Sevyamanam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. In 5.29, and each of these words are full of meaning. Chintamani, Prakara, Sadmasu, Kalpa, Vriksha. O worshipful Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor, who is tending the cows, yielding all desires and abodes built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of purpose trees, desire trees, always served with great reverence and affections by whom? By hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis or gopis. So Krishna should be offered the choicest of words. We have many prayers because many devotees of Krishna, like Maharani Kunti, have offered their prayers. Would anyone like to share some of their best prayers from Srimad Bhagavatam? Since we're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, so just focusing on that. Any of the prayers from Srimad Bhagavatam? Do you all know of the prayers from Srimad Bhagavatam? List of prayers? No takers? Gajendra Moksha is one of my favorite prayers. We've heard several devotees claim that. So many prayers. Bhishma Stuti. We all went through Bhishma Stuti if we have reached this point, right? Bhishma Stuti. Who else? You can share. Narottam says Prabhu is saying Gopi Geet. Thousands and thousands of prayers like that. Anyway. So instead of Prabhupada used to always say that it's so handy to have a prayer with us, learn a prayer. Because if we are in a situation we have to call out to the Lord, just take like a prayer from your pocket and share it or recite it with all your heart, right? So instead of writing a prayer ourselves in the beginning, we could follow the footsteps of great devotees of Krishna. We can follow their principles, take to heart how they have spoken. That will be advantageous because Krishna will be pleased. He's heard it once, we know how he reacted, so all we have to do is just follow them and recite it with all our heart. Even if we recite and offer prayers to Krishna with broken language, as mentioned in the purport, because Krishna is absolute, Krishna will still accept it. Why? Because he is Bhava Grahi Janardana. Krishna sees how pure our heart and our feelings for serving him are. Krishna doesn't see the wordings, the grammatical composition of our prayers, and so forth. So when other demigods are afraid, for instance, right, other demigods, another very important prayer I'll just mention. When various demigods were afraid of approaching Nishingadev, Jai Nishinga, Lord Brahma requested who? 5-year-old Prahlad Maharaj to offer prayers. And what did Prahlad Maharaj say? What prayers I shall offer to the Supreme Lord when such big, big demigods headed by Lord Brahma are present here? Even the goddess of Lakshmi, goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi herself is present here. Prahlad Maharaj continues, I am born in a low family. My father is none other than the ferocious Hiranyakashipu. How can I offer prayers? If big, big demigods could not offer prayers and satisfy the Lord, what can I really do? This is the humbleness of a Vaishnava. But when Lord Brahma insisted and said, no, you go ahead, you offer prayers, your prayers will be accepted. Then Prahlad Maharaj, considering that, recites, Vipradvisatgunayutadaravindanabha Padaravinda Vimukat Swapacham Varishtam Mane Tadarpita Manovachena Tita Pranam Punit Sakulam Natu Bhurimanam. Srimad Bhagavatam 7.9.10. If a Brahmana who has 12 of the Brahmanical qualifications but is not a devotee and is averse to the lotus feet of the Lord, he is certainly lower than a devotee who is a dog eater, but who has dedicated everything, mind, words, activity, wealth, and life to the Supreme Lord. Such a devotee is better than a Brahmana because the devotee can purify his whole family, whereas a so-called Brahmana in a position of false prestige cannot purify even himself. This is the fact. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yomi bhaktya prayachati. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yomi bhaktya prayachati. 9.26. Krishna says that a flower, a little water, a small fruit, that's all. Someone offers that to me with love and with devotion, then I shall honor it. It's not that Krishna is hungry. Not that I'm a very rich man, I can offer Krishna luchi puri sapuri laddu rasabali. No, that's from Bogarti, by the way. He must take it. Just like if we get some palatable food, what do? We eat it up to our necks, right? Krishna is Atma Rama. Krishna has no hunger. Even if he has hunger, which we have seen in the pastime of Lord Damodar in this month of Kartik, he can fulfill it himself. He doesn't require our help. But he accepts our foodstuff if we offer with love. That is the main thing. Just like we would relish foodstuff when we are hungry, if we've got sufficient appetite, any kind of foodstuff we find we'd really like, right? But if you offer very palatable foodstuff, even if you're not hungry, even if you have no appetite, can you honor it? No, it just becomes useless. But however, with Krishna, you can offer very nice foodstuff, as I mentioned, luchi, puri, halva, other things. But if you have no bhakti, then Krishna won't touch it. Therefore, it's essential that those who are initiated should prepare Krishna's bhoga, foodstuff, and professionals or non-initiated people should not prepare. Because bhakta prepares the foodstuff with some desire, then the Lord says, I'll have it, I'll honor it. That's the difference from being a professional cook versus somebody just offering with love. That doesn't mean you shouldn't learn. We have so many wonderful cookbooks, so many wonderful devotees who cook and who share their recipes, or they even show you how to cook and so forth. Srila Prabhupada was very, very, very adamant about this point. Whenever, if you notice also in ISKCON, none of our prayers, songs, performances were done by anybody other than devotees who are practicing Krishna consciousness. We could have had the best of actors come and perform in our dramas. But Prabhupada said, no, are they devotees? Are they chanting? No. If not, make our devotees so that you train them up. Let them express what they can with the skills provided to them, or find devotees who are interested in such seva. Similarly with cooking, if you don't know, train up, learn how to make rasgulla. Don't call the sweet shop person to do it. Don't buy things from outside, because why? Krishna sees love and you have love. That's why you're practicing Krishna consciousness. So you go ahead and offer. So Yome Bhaktya, that's the main thing, bhakti. And all the prayers offered by Kunti Devi is full of bhakti. So we should learn from Kunti Devi how to offer, and then Krishna will be very pleased. And then what will he do when he's pleased? Jahasa. Jahasa is going to be the point of today's discussion. So he is self-satisfied, Purna. He's Om Purnamada Purnamidat Purnat Purnam Udeshchate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. This is the invocation prayer in Sri Ishopanishad. But if his devotees offer something with love and affection, then he accepts. So we shouldn't, again, coming back to the point, I can't stress this enough, we shouldn't think that we made such a sumptuous plate of prasad. Now everyone's in a hobby, guilty charged, of taking pictures of huge palatable plates and offerings to the Lord. But if that love and that bhakti is not there, it will just remain, it'll just look beautiful in the picture, but it won't be accepted. No matter how many hashtag prasad you put on it or bhoga you put on it. So no one can make Krishna eat. That's not possible. Krishna only wants to see if you have that extra katori filled with love. Only then will he accept it. So Kunti Maharani offers her prayers with so many nice words as she could. For that purpose, did she offer? So we would wonder, why did she offer those prayers, and also why did she choose those nice words, right? She chooses that, and that's what Sutta Goswami says. He says, Akhilodhaya. for the enlightenment of the whole universe. Devotees are para dukkha dukhi. They are concerned and they have feelings for other people. They're concerned about others' well-being. So the main reason for her glorifying the Lord was not selfish. It was selfless. It was akilodaya, for the enlightenment of the whole universe. By offering prayers to Krishna, everything becomes auspicious. Akilodaya. Next, Maharani Kunti uses the word Vaikunta. Before that, just stressing on the word Akilodaya. Why did these sages meet in Naimisharanya? The only reason all of them met there was to perform prayers and sacrifices for the well-being of the future generation, us, the Kalyugites, right? They knew how manda sumandamatayo mandabhagya hi upadritaha. They knew how fallen, how lowly, how disturbed, how lazy, how misguided we would be. And for our sakes, they all met and they decided to offer prayers to the Lord, seeking blessings for us. Jai. Coming back to Sutta Goswami's prayer, he mentions that she says Vaikunto, Mandam Jahasa Vaikunta. So in this whole prayer, when we read the translation, it says that Krishna thus slightly smiled. But have in the prayer, is the word Krishna there? No. Is any other common name that he is called by there? No. But one word is there. What is that? Vaikunto. And here Krishna is Vaikunta. Different. It's the first time I was here. It struck me when I read this. Vaikunta is actually the Lord's place of residence, right? Well, it's another name of Krishna as well. Kunta means anxiety, doubt. If you are doubtful, if you are filled with anxiety, that is called as Kunta. And Vaikunta means without doubtfulness or anxiety. So in other words, whatever you do for Krishna, there is no doubt or there is no anxiety whatsoever that is required. Hence, his name is Vaikunta. Devotional service in one's lifetime is the only thing one can be sure of that will continue to exist in spite the number of life cycles that we take in different bodies. It's the only bank balance that will remain intact. Everything else we have to start from scratch, even our so-called knowledge that we acquire in one lifetime, right? It's the only one thing that will never diminish. For people who are, what's our mode? Most of us, why did we come to the US? To earn more money, to earn big bucks, right? So we wanted to increase our, well, bank balance and so forth. Any of this can we carry out in the next life? No. And do we expect there's a next life? Yes. Well, what's the one thing that will carry out? What's the only one thing with which or from which profit, only profit comes and no loss? Is there a concept like that in economics? No. If you want to gain something, there is an equal risk of both profit or loss. But there's the only one thing that destroys that concept and says only profit you receive by following this path and by worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's why Krishna's name is Vaikunta Gunanuvarnani. In Srimad Bhagavatam 9.4.18, it is said, Save Krishna, Save Mana Krishna Padara Vindayor Vachamsi Vaikunta Gunanuvarnani. Who says this? Maharaj Ambarish. Maharaj Ambarish, so we know of the 9 processes of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. So these are 9 processes of devotional service. You can follow one very nicely, you can follow a combination of them, or you can follow all 9. There was one personality who was the embodiment of following all 9 of these devotional services. And who was that? None other than Maharaj Ambarish. Maharaj Ambarish always engaged his mind in meditating upon the Lord's lotus feet. His words in describing the glories of the Lord. And here the word Vaikuntha is used, right? And here also the word Vaikuntha refers to Krishna. Save mana Krishna padara vindayo vachamsi Vaikuntha gunanuvarnani. We have different senses of which the mind is the center of all senses. Where do we learn this? We learn this in 15.7. Krishna says, Mamevamsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana manashastani indriyani prakrtistani karshati. Right? That we are his part and parcel, and we, being with our mind, we are entangled with all this. Our mind's the cause of everything. That's the focal point with which all our senses are adjoined. Therefore, our first business is to engage our mind on what? The lotus feet of Krishna. Always thinking of the lotus feet. Smartavyam satatam vishnur vishmartavya na chatuchit. Do or be engaged in things that will make you remember the Lord and forget and stop doing things that will distract you away from the Lord. So this is Madhya Leela 22.13. So always engage your mind, and thus all your senses will be focused on Krishna. Then everything will be all right. When we all have the urge to talk, that's the hardest thing to stop, right? Urge to talk. Vacho vegam, manasaha krodha vegam, jihwa vegam, the urge to talk, urge of the tongue. Let's talk on what? Vaikunta Gunanu Varnani. Simply talk of Krishna. Any glorification about Krishna is Vaikunta Gunanu Varnani. That's what would just happen, right? Kunti Devi, she could have said that, oh, you're leaving now, but I have this, and this to do. No, did she do that? No. All she was, stay, you're amazing, we love you, what we'll do without you. That's what she said. Just focusing on him. Just like in Srimad Bhagavatam, there are so many descriptions, so many other things, but because everything is in relation to Krishna, each word of Srimad Bhagavatam is valuable. Several devotees ask this question. So, what's the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita? Observing the army. Yeah. And then we read about so many Maharathis. We read of their names. So many slokas are just that, right? Like, say several Maharathis, what their greatest strengths are, what's their consul's name, and so forth. We would think that, why is this even important to us? Like, why is this even in the Bhagavad Gita? It is in the Bhagavad Gita. It is important to us. Why? Because it's associated with Krishna. Hence, it's very valuable. Just like each and every word of Srimad Bhagavatam. Similarly, if you dovetail everything in Krishna's service, everything is great. Everything is Vaikunta, and that is Vaikunta. Vaikunta is Vaikunta Gunanu Vardhati. So that is our Krishna conscious movement. We're trying to dovetail everything in connection with Krishna, make Krishna our center, and all our activities will thus become spiritual. Because if you think about it, what's the difference between any village in India or elsewhere in the world and Vrindavan? They're also doing their daily chores, right? They're waking up in the morning. They're cowherd people, well, at least most of them. So they go and herd their cows. The women make butter, yogurt. They boil the milk, feed the family. Women goes for job. Women cook, or whatever service they're doing, and so forth. So is that any different from any household wherein they get up, they make some bread, have something, and do the same activities? There is one stark difference. When we look from the outside, it looks like the same thing. Oh, all mundane activities. No. The biggest difference is that in Vrindavan, everything is done in connection with Krishna. Everything is dovetailed for Krishna. They even say, Illa, go ahead, move. How do they say that? Radhe, move. Make some space. So everything they have Krishnized. That's the difference. And that's how we need to imbibe. That's when we need to imbibe from them. Krishna loves them the most, right? Vrindavan Vasis. So when all parts of our limbs and our mind are engaged in Krishna's service, Rishikesha Rishikena Sevanam Bhakti Ruchate. That's also part of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela 19.170. Bhakti Ruchate. Our bhakti's prime will be achieved when Rishikesha Rishikena Sev. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevana. Who's Rishikesha? Master of all senses. Krishna. Rishikena means engaging all our senses in his service, in his sevanam. What happens? Bhakti Ruchate. We attain the prime of devotion. So Kunti Maharani, she's recited this beautiful prayers. By the way, there's this book, if anyone doesn't know, there's this book called Teachings of Maharani Kunti. So if you get a chance, get your hands on it, because we have already learned or read this prayer in Srimad Bhagavatam. That gives us some more insight on what Srila Prabhupada has shared in some of his lectures and so forth. It's a beautiful book. So after Maharani Kunti has shared, or take us for instance, after we have shared something heart to heart to someone, what do? We look at them for what? Seeking some sort of confirmation, like, so I share what I think, what do you think, right? Similarly, once Maharani Kunti was done with her prayers, she looked at Krishna. And how did he respond? He remained silent and simply smiled. And that's how we know that Krishna accepted everything she recited. Now, the smile is the center of today's discussion. I know it's already almost 8:40, but that's the center of today's discussion. That smile is what everyone is eagerly waiting for. And one unique feature of that smile, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, every time we hear, at least that's what struck to me in Narottam Das, was that every time we hear about it, it appears to be very lightly, right? Another instance is right after Arjuna recites, Karpanya dosha pata swabhava prichami tvam dharma samura cheta yashreyasya nishchita bruhidan me shishrasteham shadimam tvam prapanam. Now I'm confused about my duty and I've lost all composure because of my silly weakness. In this condition, I'm asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. I am now your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. And then how does the Lord react? Sanjaya tells Dhritarashtra, Tvam uvacha Hrishikesham prahasan iva varata senayor bhayor matye visedantam idam vacham. O descendant of Bharata, at that time Krishna, smiling in the midst of both the armies, spoke the following words to the grief-stricken Arjuna. Thus Bhagavad Gita begins, right? Thus the Lord actually starts to sing. Till then he hasn't said a single word. So prahasan iva, what does that mean? Like smiling. So like small smile. So his smile is like that. It's quite, just gets a little bit off it because I think he knows we can't handle the whole voltage, perhaps. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quotes Srila Billamangalam Thakur, another wonderful, wonderful devotee, who glorifies the Lord's smile and amongst various other aspects in Sri Krishna Karanamrita. He says, Maduram Maduram Vapurasya Vibhor, Maduram Maduram Vadanam Maduram, Madugandhi Maduram, Madugandhi Mridu Smitam Etadaho Maduram 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 Maduram. The transcendental body of Krishna is doubly sweet. And his face is 3 times sweeter than his body. And that soft smile, see again, soft. That soft smile on his face, which is like the fragrance of honey, is 4 times sweeter still. Let my mind become attracted unto you in the same spontaneous way. Try. Would you like to hear more about the glories of the Lord's smile? For Krishna himself, who came in the form of his foremost devotee. Who is that? Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Interested? Any takers? In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela 21.130, this is the text. I'm going to read a couple of them. The dancing features of his face surpass all other full moons and expand the marketplace of full moons. Although priceless, the nectar of Krishna's face is distributed to everyone. Some purchase the moon rays of his sweet smile, and others purchase the nectar of his lips. Thus, he pleases everyone. For Chaitanya Prabhu, everything is marketplace, right? Marketplace of the holy name, and Jai, all glories to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now it just struck me. He knows our mentality. In spite the pandemic, unfortunately, that we're all in right now. One thing that has kept booming is what? Online shopping. So that's what attracts us, marketplace. It's why the Lord uses such terms. Let's go on. This is text 135. I'm going to read from 135 to 140. If you want, you can note this down because it's gorgeous. The transcendental form of Lord Krishna is compared to an ocean. A particularly extraordinary vision is the moon above the ocean, right? Sri Krishna's face, Jai. And an even more extraordinary vision is his smile, which is sweeter than sweet and is like shining beams of moonlight. While speaking of these things with Sanatana Goswami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to remember one thing after another. Moving his hands in ecstasy, he recited a verse. And then these are as follows. O my Lord, the transcendental body of Krishna is very sweet, and his face is even sweeter than his body, but his soft smile, which it has the fragrance of honey, is sweeter still. This is where he's quoting Pula Mangal Thakur's prayer. My dear Sanatana, the sweetness of Krishna's personality is just like an ocean of ambrosia. That's nectar. Although my mind is now afflicted by convulsive diseases and I wish to drink the entire ocean, the repressive physician does not allow me to drink even one drop. Krishna's body is a city of attractive features, and it is sweeter than sweet. His face, which is like the moon, is sweeter still. And the supremely sweet, gentle smile on the moon-like face is like rays of moonshine. The beauty of Krishna's smile is the sweetest feature of all. His smile is like a full moon that spreads its rays throughout the three worlds, Goloka Vrindavan, the spiritual sky of Vaikuntha, and Devi Dham, the material world. Thus, Krishna's shining beauty spreads in all 10 directions. His slight smiling, again, see slight. His slight smiling and fragrant illumination are compared to camphor, which enters the sweetness of his lips. That sweetness is transformed and enters into space as vibrations from the holes of his flute. So being bereft of this nectar, even for a microsecond. So we itself are rejoicing so much, and I'm sure many of you have seen that smile. I haven't. Well, on my DTs, yeah, we can discuss about that. But so just imagine the mood of people who have actually seen that slight smile, right? And this is when they complain. We've famously heard how the gopis curse Lord Brahma. This is where they do that. Being bereft of this nectar, even for a microsecond, what do they say? They say, this is text 133 and 134, Charitamrita Madhya Leela, 22nd. So when the onlooker of Krishna's face becomes dissatisfied in this way, he thinks, why didn't the Creator give me thousands and millions of eyes? Why has he given me only two? They're baffled. Only two? Even these two eyes are disturbed by the blinking, which keeps me from continuously seeing Krishna's face. Thus, one accuses the Creator of being dry and tasteless due to engaging in severe austerities, right? Why? Well, Brahma was engaged in tapasya. And so because of that, they're saying that, oh, he's dry and tasteless because he's engaged in severe austerities. And they go on to say, the Creator is only a dry manufacturer. He does not know how to create and set things in their proper places. And what does the Creator say? He says, let those who will see Krishna's beautiful face have two eyes. Just see the lack of consideration exhibited by this person posing as a creator. That's what the gopis are saying. If the Creator took my advice, he would give millions of eyes to the person who intends to see Krishna's face. If the Creator will accept this advice, then I would say that he is competent in his work. Jai, gopis ki jai. Supreme Personality of Godhead ki jai. His smile ki jai. So our natural tendency is to smile when we are pleased. So we are pleased is when we are pleased, we smile. Similarly, Krishna also has a tendency to smile. Why? Because he is pleased. And we get this nature from whom? From Krishna. Many Vedic scriptures and songs by Krishna's devotees celebrate his enchanting smile. So, since our topic of today's discussion is that smile, Prahasaneva, let us use the acronym SMILE to try to elucidate some characteristics of Krishna's smile, shall we? So, let's start with the first alphabet, S, satisfying. Because we are all spiritual in nature, nothing of this material world can truly satisfy our hearts, right? Yeah. In the Bhagavad Gita 17.16, Lord Krishna lists satisfaction of the mind as one of the austerities in the mode of goodness. The more we try to find satisfaction objects of this world, the more our mind becomes dissatisfied and craves for more, right? How much ever we get, we're not satisfied. I was seeing an interview by Paris Hilton. She was saying that she wanted to become a millionaire. She became a millionaire, and now her focus is on becoming a billionaire. So she's satisfied? No, she's extremely rich. She doesn't even have to work. She has all this royalty and so forth, like from her family. But that's how it is. But we can experience satisfaction as soon as we turn our face towards Krishna in the attitude of bhakti devotional service. Srila Prabhupada explains the exceptional beauty of laughter of Lord Vishnu is that when he smiles, his small teeth, which resemble buds of jasmine flowers, at once become reddish, reflecting his rosy lips. If the yogi is able to place the beautiful face of the Lord in the core of his heart, he will be completely satisfied. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, purport 3.28.33. Try. So satisfying. His smile is satisfying. M, mystical. He's the head of all mystics, right? He's a supreme mystic. So mystical. His smile is also mystical. The Lord, hearing the prayer of Kunti Devi, composed in choice words for his glorification. What does he do? We just stressed, mildly smiles. That smile was as enchanting as his mystic power. And Krishna is known as Yogeshwara, the supreme master of all mystic power. By his mystic potency, what does he do? He resides in countless spiritual Vaikuntha planets. He creates, he annihilates countless of material universes, and he expands into countless spiritual forms, resides simultaneously in every universe. Isn't that mystical? If that's not, I don't know what is. There is no limit to Krishna's mystic potency. In Srimad Bhagavatam 2.1.31, the most alluring, illusory material energy is said to be what? That smile of the Lord's universal form. In the spiritual world, Krishna's smile is the most attractive spiritual energy. We're coming to a point that was mentioned in the translation, Maya. In the spiritual world, Krishna's smile is the most attractive what? Spiritual energy. When pervertly reflected in this world, it takes the form of material energy, which keeps living entities who try to lord it over material nature in delusion and binds them with the shackles of lust. Right? Completely logical. It's that smile that's giving us here. In her prayers, Maharani Kunti uses the word Maya. The word Maya may refer to his mystic power that bewilders non-devotees. Jai. Srila Prabhupada explains that Krishna's smile with affection for his devotees is as a mother smiles with affection for her baby. And Krishna's smile makes devotees very happy and satisfied. So all glories to that mystical smile. What else? Infectious. How many of us have felt we go, we see the deities, and then we just start smiling? Why? We see their beautiful smiling faces, right? The Lord's smile is infectious and thus makes his devotees smile even among what? Trying situations in life. In Srimad Bhagavatam 3.28.32, Lord Kapila says, Hasam Hare Avantikali Lokatibra. So Karshu Sagara Vishamo Atyudaram. A yogi should similarly meditate on the most benevolent smile of Lord Sri Hari, a smile which, for all those who bow to him, dries away the ocean of tears caused by intense grief. Jai Lord Kapila. In our lives too, there's a lot of difficulties, uncertainties, ups and downs, which can make us hopeless or pessimistic. And this trying, say, 8 to 9 months has been one such instance, right? So in such a state, even when our kin and kinth may flee from us, making our whole situation appear gloomy, we need to look at what? That smiling face of the Lord for hope and redemption. His smile never fades. He has a unique plan for each and every one of us. I would like to repeat how in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna stands on the battlefield, sees his relatives armed against him, and feeling weakness of heart, he loses his composure. But with that grief stricken state, what does he do? He decides to accept the Lord as his spiritual master and submits himself before him. In Lord's prelude to his counsel, what does the Lord do? He smiles to show him compassion and to show him that no problem is too big for him to solve. Meditation and examples like this is what can help us remember the Lord's promise to his devotees and his inconceivable plan to bring us all closer to him, even in the most trying of times. We find that in Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a story of actually a prostitute, Pingala. I hope all of us stick through because it's way down there in the end of all the cantos, in whose heart detachment arose from frustration, right? Acknowledging the Lord's mercy, she became happy in her situation and composed beautiful prayers glorifying him. Where else, apart from Srimad Bhagavatam, can we have an elephant to a king, to a prostitute, to a bee of her prayers? Jai, all glories. This shows that the Lord has no discrimination based on caste, creed, gender, status, and so forth, right? By the infectious nature of Krishna consciousness, the smile of his pure devotees becomes so powerful. Srila Prabhupada explained that simply by smiling, they win many disciples, admirers, and followers. Srila Prabhupada's disciples can vouch for this. Many of them just there's like, we don't know Krishna, we don't know anything. We just know we love Prabhupada and we're here. Because that's what kept them going. They were like, no one's as caring as him. And how did he express that? Of course, through his words, through his actions, but most importantly, through his smile even. Last but not least, L, lasting forever. Right? One thing that lasts forever is that smile on Krishna's face, the Mukharavinda, which we just shared. So Krishna, along with his most enchanting smile, is always prepared to reciprocate with his devotees. The plastic smiles of this world is for fulfilling personal interest, do not last forever, right? Whenever people smile here, like if you go to a shop and the salespeople smile at you, what's their intention? Is it forever? No, they just want you to buy something from them. They just want to earn money. Well, every smile here has an intention. However, when pleased with the service of his devotee, Krishna becomes their debtor. Who else is in such a situation? In reciprocation, he smiles. Srila Prabhupada writes, devotees do not ask anything from the Lord in exchange for their service. Even the most desirable liberation is refused by devotees. Right? That's what we recite in Damodar Ashtakam. We do not want even liberation, although offered by the Lord. Thus, the Lord becomes a kind debtor to the devotees, and he can only try to repay the devotee's service with what? His ever enchanting smile. The devotees are ever satisfied by the smiling face of the Lord, and they become enlivened. And by seeing the devotees so enlivened, the Lord himself further satisfied. Thus, there is this continuous transcendental competition between the Lord and his devotees by such reciprocation of service and acknowledgement, and service and acknowledgement. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam 3.8.27 purport. The Lord, in his deity form, as I was just mentioning, he also smiles, right, to whoever comes before him. And when he becomes pleased with our service and our surrender, With our willingness to dedicate our entire being to please Him, then His smile touches our heart and satisfies us completely. I'm 100% sure that many of us can relate to this reciprocation of the Lord. It is said that the Lord reciprocates in His deity form through the smile of His to indicate if He's pleased with our service or not. I always tell Narasimha Sastro, oh, they're smiling today, so okay, we did something that was okay. Or, oh my God, they're not smiling, they look upset, they look angry. And then he's like, yep, our service is tanked, or yeah, just the usual thing. um, but yeah, they reciprocate to us through that mukharavinda, through that smile. Finally, enchanting. That's why we're 1 hour we've been talking about just his smile. Whose else smile can we spend? All of us this much time speaking about, right? It's enchanting. This supremely attractive smile enchants not only devotees but non-devotees. Lord Krishna is known as Mukunda, one meaning which is one whose face, mukha, is as beautiful as the ever-smiling kunda flower. There's a flower called kunda and apparently it smiles. The mild, gorgeous smile on the Lord's face attracts devotees' hearts, and at the same time, it slays their anxieties, their pride, and makes them utterly dependent on Him. Jai. I would like to end today's glorification and discuss Srimad today's discussion by explaining how Srimad Bhagavatam's 12 cantos are referred to in terms of the Lord's bodily features, and conclude by glorifying His smile directly from Srimad Bhagavatam. So, as we know, the first and the second canto are considered at the two lotus feet of the Lord, and then from there it goes on His two legs, his body, his two hands, his neck, and finally the 10th canto is the face of the Lord. The 11th and 12th are hair and his crown. So 10th canto is the face of the Lord. And the following sloka is considered the smile on the Lord's lotus mukharavinda. This is Srimad Bhagavatam 10.21.5. Barhapidam natavaruvapur karnayo karnikaram bibradvasam kanakakapisham vaijayantim chamalam randrar venuradara sudaya purayan gopavrindai vrindaranyam swapadaramanam Pravishad Gita Kiti, wearing a peacock feather ornament upon his head, blue karnika flowers on his ears, a yellow garment as brilliant as gold, and the Vaijayanti garland, Lord Krishna exhibited his transcendental form as the greatest of dancers as he entered the forest of Vrindavan, beautifying it with marks of his footprints. He filled the holes of his flute with the nectar of his lips, and the cowherd boys sang his glories. Supreme Personality of Godhead ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Kunti Maharani ki jai. Thank you all so much for attending today's session. Hope you had at least one cause for rejoicing and meditating on the Lord. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji, can you hear us?
We can hear you.
We cannot hear you.
Yes, Raji.
Okay. Oh, now we can hear you. Okay. Okay. excellent, excellent uh, discourse. uh, Right. When you read the uh, shloka in the first thing, I thought there is nothing much in this. Like, I'm not sure how she can speak for an hour. I'm- just before I knew it, the time flew. I mean, it's beautiful to actually understand what's the greatness of the smile, and then what each letter meant. Beautiful, beautiful as always. I really enjoy all your lectures. Thank you.
Do others want to speak? Anything? Questions? Reflections? Sikanga Mataji, thank you for the usual wonderful session. So thank you for speaking, Premarupa Madhavi Devi, in this beautiful verse. I have a question, which is, why do you think Sri Sutta Goswami said, mildly smiled? We're very using the kind of analogies you're talking about, how a smile is kind of a reflection of our inner state of happiness. When we see the deities, I don't think we mildly smile. When we get a nice plate of prasadam, we don't mildly smile. Why do you think the word mildly is being used? There was something that I contemplated when I spoke this verse, and in a series of verses in March, I was trying to figure that one out. But since you've meditated on this for quite some time, you have some thoughts. Sorry, it's kind of an echo coming from you guys.
Yeah, sorry, because both of us are here, so one has to unmute and so this has to back. Yes, Prabhuji actually touched upon this during our discussion, and I said that I was wondering why everywhere it's mentioned. First of all, it struck that, oh, mildly smile, even here, even in Bhagavad Gita was mentioned, mildly smile, and then so
Really, unfortunately, your voice is like really distorted. Like
my voice is really distorted. Nada, can I say from your laptop? Is it better, Prabhuji?
yes, that's better.
Yes, okay. So I was saying, I've actually touched upon this during the discussion, and I was thinking why the Lord said, mildly smile. Why I think the Lord said, and not just in one instance, right? In several instances, he mentioned mildly smile. So the reason that I thought he said mildly smile, which I mentioned in the class, is because we can't take that full voltage. Even in Ishopanishad, and even when we glorify Lord Vishnu, we say that he has half opened his eyelids, right? That's how we say. And I used to ask several senior devotees also, why is his eyes half open? The only, well, what I can think of at least is that we can only take in that much. He doesn't want to. Some people hide their beauty, hide something because we can't take in the whole thing. So he just smiles a little because we can't take that whole voltage. People say 100-watt smile, and yeah. So similarly, he opens his eyes also just half. At least that's my thought. If other devotees want to share, what are your thoughts?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, that sounds consistent. Sorry, I missed that part of your lecture.
No,
Thank you.
thank you, Prabhu.
I guess another nice meditation is, if you want to elaborate, is Srila Prabhupada says that smile was as enchanting as its mystic power. The analogy of the Jahasa and the Maya. I want to elaborate on that one.
Sorry, Prabhuji, was that a question?
Yeah, what I was saying was, I think your mom is I think Mataji wants to speak. So let's hear from the wonderful mother.
I doubt she'd say anything, Prabhu.
Okay, so what I was saying was, do you want to elaborate? Something that I found interesting that maybe you can elaborate is, how the smile is as enchanting as its mystic power. What do you think about that? How do you understand that from your reading?
How his smile is as enchanting as his mystic power. That's why it's glorified as Maya, right? Yeah. In what pretext I'm thinking. So our biggest attraction here in the material world, I think I mentioned this. I don't know what you're getting at, Prabhu, but I can just
No, I'm not getting at anything. I'm just
okay.
I'm just meditating on the verse.
Worse, yeah. So it's very interesting. So if we look at the translation, if we look at the exact translation, yeah, Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, the word Maya is used in both the sense of delusion and mercy. Herein the word Maya is used in the sense of the Lord's mercy upon Kunti Devi. So, and then when he says about it's used both in the sense of delusion and mercy, the whole perverted reflection comes to play here. How, that Maya is what is keeping us allured or attracted in this material world. At the same time, it's that Maya that's keeping all the devotees there in the spiritual world just attracted to him. That smile of, and what is that Maya? That smile of his. So it is mercy in the spiritual world, and it's delusion here in the material world in the form of perverted reflection. So that's my thought on it. And it's just beautiful, the play of words there by Sutta Goswami. And yeah, it's just wonderful.
Like analogy. I mean, it's a nice reflection of what Srila Prabhupada is saying.
Yeah.
As well. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Other devotees who want to speak? How are your parents doing? They're doing okay in Bahrain?